Alright guys, today, welcome to the WalaWay coach Imran Wala, and we're going to learn the basics of the zone defense, 2-3 zone defense, and why to use it, when to use it. Basically, if you want to slow down a more aggressive team, equal the playing field, if you have long players, athletic players, and you just want to change things up, force turnovers, we can rely on the zone defense. So here what you see are the basic quadrants or areas that the defenders are going to be married or so you see right here, your two guards right up top. The boxes represent kind of their areas that they're patrolling, and you got your two wings and your big, or your two bigs and your wing. And you see the big man is right in the middle in the painted area under the free throw line. You got your bigs over here on both sides of the wings rather, on both sides of the big. So let's see kind of what this looks like in action. And again, we mentioned 3 out, 2 low formation. So 3 out. This is the offense, 1, 2, 3, and 2 low. So this is basically how we're setting up our zone based on what we've seen the offense do, okay? And this is just how the position or the formation is going to start. And they're going to rotate the ball to the wing. So let's see what happens, all right? The offensive player number 1 is going to pass it to player number 2. When that happens, here's what we want all of our players doing. Firstly, our first defender number 1, is going to close out on 2. Remember, we always want to keep the ball in front of us as defenders. We always want to keep the ball in front of us, because if we're not in front of the ball, that offensive player has a direct shot at the basket, and that's what we want to avoid. We want to protect our home. So 1 has rotated over. So again, this is the initial formation. 1 is rotating over. And because 1 rotates over here, let's look at what number 2 has to do. Number 2 has to fill that area, okay? So number 2 is going to take the elbow, so that way we don't allow any passes in the middle, all right? Okay, we don't want any passes in the middle. So 2 is in this safety area. 2 is still responsible for 3, but he's also now responsible for number 1. We see 3 has also shifted, our third defender right here, right? Actually, I'm sorry, 3 is staying where they are. That's exactly where they want to be. 3 wants to be where they are currently because they want to mark number 5, and also they want to prevent any passes to number 5. So they want to put themselves between the ball, so the number 2 who has the ball, and the ball being able to get to number 5. So this might even require them fronting number 5, but they are where they are. Number 4 has rotated to get between number 4 and the ball. Okay, again, every player has to get themselves, this is what we always teach, you have to get between your player that you're guarding and the ball. No easy passes. And now number 5, who's still in the middle, has shifted just a little bit, all right? So you see the defenders are loading up on one side because this is where the ball is. Let's see what happens if the offense swings the ball. Okay, so these are your areas, these are your hands. The lines represent your hands. Now the ball rotates over to the center. The ball rotates to the corner. So 5, offensive player number 5 jumps to the corner, 4 goes onto the other side, and number 2 passes it to 5, and this is what everyone's going to have to wind up doing. Okay? Remember, we jump to the ball. 3 has to jump to the ball because we have to guard that person. Now, if 3 jumps to the ball, what does 4 have to do? 5, our 5 man. What does 5 have to do? 5 has to put himself or herself between number 4 and the ball as well. Remember, we always have to be in front of our players. Number 1 can now take a step back because number 2 no longer has the ball. So number 1 is in a safer position. Number 2 is essentially where they were, right? Number 2 is essentially where they were. And let's see what number 4 does. Number 4 now has to patrol the middle, right? 4 is manning the middle. So again, we're loading up on one side. Now, what happens if the ball further rotates to the other wing? So if the ball gets to number 3, which is a far pass. So here, all defenders are going to sprint to their new spots. This is a skip pass. All defenders are going to sprint to that spot. Number 4 is going to run to number 3 because he is or she is the closest to number 3. But then they're going to go back to the corner until number 2 gets in front of 3. Player number 2 is then going to, defender number 2 is going to take the ball. Player number 1, defender number 1, is going to sprint to the high post. 5 is going to cover the ball side block, and number 3 is going to cover the weak side. So let's see that in action. Okay, skip pass. Okay, so we see 4 is going to sprint, and then bump to the corner. Let's see that happen, right? They sprint because they're the closest ones. So 4 runs there until number 2 is there, because that's definitely number 2's job. Now number 1 has to be a safety in this other area. Okay, so let's see that. Okay, and you see number 3 now went back to be a barrier between the 4th offensive player, number 4 offensive player, and 5 is back to patrolling the middle. So in a zone defense, guys, we're always favoring or loading up on one side. And again, you have your general areas that you want. So now we're going to get some more rotation. Okay, this is they're rotating to the strong side. So number 4 is going to the high post. 5 is cutting to the corner. What's going to happen? 1 is shifting just a little bit. Remember, because what do we want to do? We want to always keep ourselves between the basket and the player. We never want to give any free rides, right? Number 5 is going to stay where they are. Number 1 is covering the elbow, and let's see what number 3 does. Number 3 also stays where they are, but they're covering this entire area right here, right? So 5 is being heavily guarded. We see 1 and 2 are basically open. So this defense may involve us running and sprinting a lot, but at the level we play at, we're not going to have to deal with too many three-point shots. So this is overall a good defense. These are your general zones. Remember the key responsibilities in this defense, your general areas. Always put yourself between a player and the basket. Always put yourself between, the ball and a player that's being unguarded. You don't want to give any easy passes. You want to always guard the basket.